After an impressive Week 1 victory versus the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers have become one of the most hyped up teams in the entire NFL. So in today's video, let's talk about the LA Chargers and why I believe they might just be Super Bowl contenders. Subscribe and follow my social medias. Let's hop into it. So in case you guys missed the Friday game between the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers won 27-21 in a game where I thought the Chargers played not only very well, but I think we can see a lot of positive signs moving forward from what we saw in this game. Let's go and start off with my biggest reason as to why I believe this Chargers team has the potential to win a Super Bowl, and that starts off with their quarterback, Justin Herbert. Now, admittedly speaking, the one flaw to Herbert's game is that the postseason has been a little bit hard on him. And this is a rightful concern. He has had spectacular regular seasons in the past. His rookie season, 31 touchdowns, 10 picks. His second year, 38 touchdowns. And he's had other years of 25, 20, 23, a lot of success within winning games as well. But he has yet to really have that consistent playoff showcase that shows off just how damn good he is. And I think it maybe could be this year. Justin Herbert has all the talent in the world. He's got an incredible arm, good pocket presence, a demeanor to him that you want to root for. I think Herbert is an excellent quarterback. He's one of the weird quarterbacks where 50% of people think he is this awesome top 6, 7 level quarterback in the league. But then there's this other separate group of people that might make up 50 or maybe a little bit less that think Herbert is overrated and have him more like 10, 11, 12. I am personally somebody who thinks Herbert is with that 6 or 7 team. I personally believe Burrow, Josh, Lamar, even Mahomes when he's going are better quarterbacks than Justin Herbert. I also think a healthy Matthew Stafford and maybe Jaden Daniels, if he continues to progress, could also be better. But I think Herbert is right there in the conversation. I think Herbert is a better quarterback than the Baker Mayfields of the world, the Dak Prescotts, maybe Jalen Hurts right now. Although Hurts is a winner. That's what I'll say about Hurts. For Herbert, though, he has had the regular season success. He has shown that he is an incredible quarterback. I think that this is the year where you're in year 2 of your system with Harbaugh. The weapons around him are getting a lot better, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And Herbert now is, let's be honest, he's kind of a veteran in the NFL. He's been in the league since 2020. He's now in his, I believe, 6th year of his career. So I think this is the year where you can start to see this quarterback who's still getting better year in and year out really take that big step forward to put his name amongst some of the best quarterbacks in the league. There is pressure on Herbert. Last year in the playoffs, that was a very disappointing showcase for him. And Herbert, he's been hearing about it the entire offseason. And I'll give him his flowers against the Chiefs in that Week 1 game. Again, it's only 1 week, so let's not overreact here. But in that Week 1 victory, with all the pressure on his back to perform and play at a high level, he had arguably one of his best games of his entire career. On the day, 73.5 completion percentage, 318 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was dicing up a really good Chiefs defense that has a lot of great players. I think the supporting cast around him also played some of their best games. I think Herbert has everything around him to allow him to have this really good, successful season. And for this Chargers team, who now I guess would be technically the leaders within their own division, they have a huge victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. The Broncos didn't look particularly great in their Week 1 game, but I do think they'll be good. The Raiders won their game, but I think the Chargers are better. The Chiefs will have a rematch against this Chargers team, but I could see the Chargers winning that one, or even if they do lose, they at least split with the Kansas City Chiefs. So then the pressure for this team is going to be handle your business against all the bad teams you're going to face, beat up on some of the bad teams like Tennessee, the Giants, and then beat a team like Minnesota, who they have a little bit later. Then later in the season, you have a hard stretch of games. Can they win some of those games? A lot of that will fall on Justin Herbert. If Justin Herbert plays at a high enough level, then I do think this team has the possibility of being a 12 or 11 win team that might just win the division. Again, it's 1 week of Justin Herbert. We will see him next week go off against the Las Vegas Raiders, and who knows, maybe he goes out there and stinks it up and plays like a shitty quarterback. That would obviously change a lot of things about this Chargers team. But after 1 week of the NFL season, I actually feel really good about what I saw from Herbert. Now, my second reason why I believe in this Chargers team is I think this is the best skill position group that he's maybe ever had. Now, I don't say that lightly. Herbert has had some good rosters that have had really good players on them. He's had Austin Eckler in his prime, Keenan Allen in his prime. He had Mike Williams in his prime. He's had some really good players to play alongside him. But I think this specific group of players with that specific head coach, I think this makes up, in my opinion, the best supporting cast he's had. I will talk about the offensive line here in a little bit because they played exceptionally well in week one, especially Joe Alt. It is a shame Rashawn Slater's out for the season because, my goodness, if he was there, this would be an incredible offense. But when you look at the offense, let's start off with the running backs. The running backs were maybe the one spot that you want to see improved moving forward because Amarian Hampton had 15 carries, but he did not even crack 50 yards on the day. I think Amarian will get better. I think he needs to work on being a little bit more creative with his rushing, but I think for the most part, he gets the yardage in front of him. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but he is going to get the job done. I hope to see a little bit more of Najee Harris moving forward as he continues to recover from that eye injury. I think he will eventually start to take on a bigger role in this offense, and then Hampton will be somebody who might get 12 to 13 carries, and Najee will get 10 to 13 carries as well. I think that duo of running backs is really good. You're always going to have fresh legs. Both of them should be efficient in the running game. They'll both be good pass protectors, and they'll both be decent in passing game too. I like this running back duo. I did not think that we saw anything spectacular in week one, so that is something they could improve upon in these upcoming weeks. What really excites me, though, is this receiving core. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Keenan Allen all had great games versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Quentin Johnston was one of the biggest surprises of the game on the day. 5 catches, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He played a really good game, and if we continue to see this sort of play from Quentin Johnston with the way they used him, with the way that he was able to find separation, that's going to be a massive upgrade for this Chargers team. Ladd McConkey, 6 catches for 74 yards. He's just sort of a safety blanket for Justin Herbert. He's always open. He can find holes in the defense. He's athletic enough to win downfield. He's just a big-time playmaker for this team. And then you add in a Keenan Allen who had 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown, who I think is going to be Justin Herbert's go-to guy on third down. It felt like a couple of times on third down when Herbert was trying to pick up a couple yards, he pretty much would go to Keenan Allen quite often in that game. Allen just understands. He has a great connection with Herbert. They played for many years now. And even though Keenan Allen is not the athlete that he once was or the route runner that he used to be, he's still good enough at finding separation and being just a reliable target for Herbert. And he also has very reliable hands. So all that Herbert really has to do is just get the ball in a vicinity for him to make a play. And more often than not, Keenan Allen will end up making the play. I think eventually Trey Harris will get even more so involved in this offense to where you're going to have Quentin Johnston, McConkey, Keenan, and Trey Harris involved. Not to mention Will Dissly will still get some work. And of course, Amarian Hampton will get some work as well. I think when this offense starts to really get put together, when everyone's clicking, when the engine is fully going, this is an offense that has the upper echelon talent with Herbert, with McConkey, with who I think we'll get from Amarian Hampton in the future, to go along with the guys who can play a role and excel in those roles, like a Quentin Johnston, like a Keenan Allen, like a Najee Harris, and hopefully like a Trey Harris. This is an offense that I think has very high potential, and it makes me very excited to see what these guys can do around a guy in Justin Herbert who is playing at a very high level. We all heard the quote from Harbaugh last year. Justin Herbert is great. The guys around him need to elevate and to become good enough for Justin Herbert. We all heard what he said last year. That is, in my opinion, kind of coming to fruition so far this year. Again, it's one game. Let's be patient. But in that one game versus a well-coached Kansas City Chiefs defense, Johnson had a great game. McConkey had a great game. Keenan Allen had a great game, and it will only get better once Hampton gets going, once Najee gets going, and when Trey Harris gets a better connection with Justin Herbert. Now, the next reason why I'm very excited about this Chargers team, this defense is pretty good. I think this defense has a lot of underrated pieces. I've been saying this throughout the offseason. When you look at this Chargers defense, really, most people won't know who a lot of these guys are. Everyone knows who Derwin James is and Khalil Mack, who they are. But I think if you were to ask a random NFL fan, hey, do you know who Dion Henley is? Or do you know who Tuli Tuipulotu is? Or Aloe Gilman? Or Cam Hart? Or Tarheeb Steele? Like, I feel like most guys would say, I don't know who they play for. Who are they? Little do those guys know, those are fantastic role players for a really good Chargers defense. Their defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, who I believe followed Harbaugh from Michigan, has been honestly like a revelation for them. It's pretty clear that at some point Minter will end up being a head coach in the NFL because he understands the schematics. He understands his players and how to use them properly. This is a defense that they get the absolute most out of, and it's really impressive to watch. They can get after the quarterback in a variety of different ways. They're excellent in coverage. I think in the future, you're going to get even better play from some of these young guys. Like Dion Henley still developing. Tuli Tuipulotu still developing. Tarheeb Steele. These are all young players who are playing very well under Minter, and you're just going to see them get better and better throughout the season. If this defense can end up becoming like a top 5 defense, you're looking at an offense that I think has the potential to be a top 10 unit paired alongside a potential, we'll just say top 10 defense. That's really good. That is Super Bowl caliber good. Now, besides the actual personnel on the roster, I think in week 1, we saw an opening in the AFC. Now, I want to make something very clear. I still 100% believe that Baltimore and the Buffalo Bills are the 2 best teams in the AFC. From what we saw, yes, the defense was rough, but the offenses can absolutely go. But I think there's sort of an opening with that, who's the 3rd best team in the AFC. We just saw the Chiefs lose, and the Chiefs have a bunch of flaws on their roster. Now, yes, no Rashee Rice. Worthy was kicked out early because of an injury. But Kelsey is no longer Kelsey. There's concerns on the offensive line. Defense has a couple issues they have to figure out. They're still going to be very good, and I would not be surprised if they end up finding a way to win the division and win 11 or 12 games this year. But there is, at least in my opinion, for the first time in a while, a little bit of an opening. You look at the Houston Texans, who have been sort of that 3rd or 4th team the past few years. That offensive line is arguably the worst in the entire NFL, and that is going to be their Achilles heel for the rest of the season. So as long as you're a Chargers fan, and as long as you can continue to beat up on some of those bad teams, win against a couple of good teams, there's a shot you will end up being better than Houston. Outside of Houston and Kansas City, you're then looking at Denver. Denver's a very good defense with an offense that did not show up in week 1, but I think they will get better. I think right now Denver has also a really good chance of being the 3rd best team in the conference. If it's not the Chiefs or Houston, I think Denver definitely has a shot. But I think the Chargers right now after week 1, I mean, you got to feel better about them. They beat the Chiefs, whereas Denver, they kind of had a slugfest versus the Tennessee Titans. And by the way, the Tennessee Titans are not very good. So again, I do believe that Baltimore and I still believe that Buffalo are the 2 best teams within the conference. But if this Chargers team can become good enough to become that 3rd team in the conference, the 3rd best team in the conference, then when you get into the playoffs, it's anyone's game at that point. Yes, I would still favor Baltimore, and depending on what happens with Kansas City, I would still probably give the benefit of the doubt to them as well. But if you're the Chargers, if you can find a certain pathway in the playoffs to where you can avoid a certain team, and maybe you only have to face off against Buffalo or Baltimore in the AFC Championship game, I mean, you're 1 game away at that point. Again, let's take it 1 step at a time here. Let's get through the regular season. Let's win a playoff game first. That's the big thing here. But again, if you can become that 3rd best team in the conference, I think it opens up a lot of things for this team. My last reason for why I think this Chargers team has a great shot of becoming Super Bowl contenders, look at this schedule. It's not a very hard schedule. Now, I want us to kind of break this schedule down into 2 parts. Pre-bye week and post-bye week. Pre-bye week, it's really not that difficult. You have the Raiders, you have Denver. Obviously, 2 divisional matchups won't be easy. Giants, Washington, Miami. Washington's the tough one. You should beat the Giants. You should beat Miami. Indianapolis looked great in week 1. We'll keep an eye on them. Minnesota Vikings, what does he look like here? This is a very winnable game. Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville. All very winnable games for this Chargers team. So ahead of the bye week, after taking care of business versus Kansas City, I think you have 1 against Denver, 1 against Washington, maybe 2 with Indianapolis and Minnesota, and maybe a tough one against Pittsburgh. If you can win the majority of those games, you're looking really good. Now, post-bye week, you get the Raiders. Not an easy win, but I think it's definitely possible. Philadelphia, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Denver. The backstretch of games there is quite difficult, and I'm not expecting them to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Kansas City will be looking for revenge. That one will be tough, especially with it being played at Kansas City. Houston, I think, will be a competitive team this year. And then you got Denver late into week 18 in a game that could have massive implications for what that division ends up looking like. So you have 11 weeks prior to the bye week for this season. You've already finished one of those games. If you can enter into your bye week, let's say 9-2 or 8-3, and then you only lose to, let's say, Philadelphia and one of Dallas, Denver, Kansas City. Let's say you beat 2 of those 3 games, and assuming you beat Houston as well. Then you're finishing off your season potentially with a 13-4, maybe 12-5 record or something along those lines. And with that record, you are probably winning the division. Or if you don't win the division, you end up as the 5th seed and you have probably a matchup versus a 4th seed who probably won't be that great. So I think there's a legitimate pathway here for this Chargers team to have a successful season. I think they have a great quarterback who's only going to get better. I love the weapons that are now surrounding this quarterback. I think the offensive line is good. I wish Rashawn Slater was there. Joe Alt looks incredible, though. That offensive line looks good enough. Hampton and the running backs will get better. I think this defense is very good with a lot of super underrated talented pieces that are going to help this team make enough plays to end up having a potentially top 5 to top 10 defense. And when you look at their schedule, it's not the most daunting task ever. Pre-bye week, it's not that hard. Post-bye week, it gets a lot more difficult, but by that stretch of games, hopefully you're fully healthy, and hopefully at that stage, you're ready to go head-to-head with a lot of these really excellent teams. So we will keep an eye on this Chargers team throughout the rest of the season. Again, I want to emphasize it's only been 1 week so far, so a lot of things will change. This Chargers team may end up not being very good at all, but after week 1, a lot of the early signs and indicators are looking really positive. But you let me know in the comment section below, how many games will the Los Angeles Chargers win in 2025, and can they be Super Bowl contenders? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed, hit the like and subscribe button. Love you guys. Peace.